small. So it's very important. So Peishan was focus on content. Peishan, that's all.
Good evening, Club President, fellow Toastmasters, and also especially to Karen. Yes, as Darren Tay says, the world champion says that powerful public speaking stems from powerful private thinking. And through this video that we have all observed, I feel that and observe that you have a very powerful private thinking in a way that you develop the story very well, very structured. It tells of your struggles and why you eventually joined Toastmasters. So I will point out some areas that you did well and how to polish it even further so that you can clinch the area champion next Saturday. Right? So some of the key elements of a good international speech is that it is of universal content, universal nature. So in this, you spoke to us about courage. So courage is a universal value that we all embrace and will see through the examples that you have. Secondly, you use the hero's journey approach, where in the first part of the story you talk about Zaki bring you into Toastmasters. Some of them might not know who Zaki is, right? But however, you walk us through the development of the speech is that you have a problem, you are staying at home, you quit your job and you have no social life. So that is the part that really captures our attention and brings us closer to you as a human being because we can relate and evoke a lot of emotional part. And one area that I thought you did really well was that, and continue to do that, is that you managed to bring out the laughter point. In the story development, there were several areas that you have used. You talk about your speech anxiety and you built up the momentum, and finally you use another anchor point that you talk about the cha-cha move. That is where you found the aha moment that you derived the solution. So now I would like to recommend you 3 suggestions to make it even stronger. So for instance, in your story development, your opening was really powerful. What Karen has done is that she used this bold statement. If you recall, she said this: we all have courage. Courage is innate in us. Most people will think that courage is strength, but courage is about tenacity and following your heart. So this is the hypothesis or the bold statement that she declared at the start of the story. So that will walk us through the entire speech development very clearly. So one area that you want to consider is how to build up the tension. So because you mentioned about the hero, Zaki, so thinking through the idea of the hero's journey that I told you before, where you're at the rock bottom of your life and how you bring us, the audience, into a solution, would you want to consider putting a stronger character in the story to make it even more believable and credible, something that all of us can identify? For example, a teacher, a coach like Jeffrey, or a friend in Toastmaster that help you discover that, build the depth of the pain even stronger by helping us to know that, hey, there's a real person in Toastmaster world that help you frame the solution. And finally, the second solution is that the low-lying fruit theorem, to make it more digestible for the audience to bring that message of a courage home. Because finally you talk about courage, what is the courage concept to you? So why talk about, maybe you want to consider an example for the audience to take home. For instance, you want to compete in a Toastmaster next time. Alright, thank you.
Thank you, Peishan. Very good. May I invite the second event?
Just focus mainly on your delivery, and I personally like body language a lot, so I will observe a lot of your body language when you start. So for example, when you say you walk alone in the opposite direction, people can immediately see there's a difference. But if you just start off at a corner and say, I have to walk alone in the opposite direction, the difference is minor. People cannot see that someone is actually changing the course to walk in the opposite direction. Okay. And when we move on to say that there are people in your life and you started counting, 1, 2, 3. It's not very obvious from the audience point of view. How about 1, 2, 3? I think everyone will be able to see the fingers that's coming forth. And like the way that when you called Zaki for help, you're like, Zaki, I need help. There's a sign of desperation in your voice, in your action, and people know that you are desperate for something. So moving on, when you move on to say that you had to quit your job, and after work, I had no social life. If you had slowed down a bit, people can feel the tension of, oh no, I had no social life. How's that going to affect me? So you build that suspense into people's heart as you build up your story towards your ending. And when you say your heart goes there's no change in the heart rate. Doesn't sound like it's going faster. You can go so you will know that there's a increasing in the heart speed that is slow to fast, and you can feel that anxiety like, oh, something is like, oh, that's how I feel when I'm... No, I won't be feeling up when I'm sitting down there. Anyways, so I realized that you tend to move to the left side of the stage more often. It could be because that's how our stage was arranged on that day. There's audience on the left and right. But maybe you could clearly divide your stage in such a way that when you talk about illness, you go to your left side. And there are times when you talk about the heroic act, you can move on to the right side and use a clear division about the negative and the positive. When you start to mix everything together, the negative things, and you move back and I see the tunnel, light through the tunnel, it's still at the same side. People can't really see there's a contrast in how bad it is and how the light at the end of the tunnel. And people will focus that maybe the light is on the right side of the stage and it's a more positive feeling. And lastly, you say that there's a flame in the heart and how we can rekindle hope. But you're only using one hand, rekindle hope. How about rekindle hope? Well, for the rest of the speech, you did use both hands to build up. So you can try to slowly build up. And you can see the progression of how little bit will bring you to where you are. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Karen. My job is actually to evaluate her on her language. So just to start, when it comes to language, we need to ensure that however you use language, it must come across clearly to the audience. So I'll start with your beginning. In your beginning, you talked about we all have courage. Courage is innate in us. And then you talk about how courage is strength. Now, the word strength itself can actually mean both mental, emotional, or physical strength. So it has many different meanings. But I like how you use your body to show that it could be physical. So you may want to consider either changing that word, or you can just stick with it in terms of just making sure that you have that body action. Then after that will be pronunciation. For pronunciation, there are two words that are pronounced inaccurately. So firstly is, when we feel desperate, what is the noun form of the word? Desperation. So it's not desperation, like the way you pronounce the adjective, but it is desperation. Again, desperation. And the other word is hero, right? So when I'm a hero, I show heroism. Heroism, not heroism, but heroism. So these are the two words that you might want to bear in mind. And going back to, because I'm going chronologically, right? Then another word use will be when you talk about physical pain. So you did say that, oh, I had physical pain internally, externally, etc. Well, physical pain is the body. So when you say internally, external, then again, people might think, wait a minute, internal, does it mean emotional? Is she going to talk about that? So just be concise and be precise in your choice of words. Another thing that I want to point out about your use of language has to do with that last bit. When you talked about how, before you talked about courage is the flame, you said, let's put on our armor. And then after that, whatever trials and challenges, and after that, courage is the flame. So there are actually two different metaphors if you think about it. First, I put on an armor. Then after that, there is a flame in me. So this is what we call mixed metaphors, in that it is not one consistent image or one consistent metaphor. So if you'd like to use the image of a flame or the fire, the heat of the fire, just stick with it, stick to one, and see if you can actually develop it further. So that is the use of language. Now I'd also want to talk just a little bit about the structure, and that is, it feels as if it has a little bit of a false start. So you started by talking about your journey into Toastmasters, and after that you talked about you mentioned your illness a little bit. Then you went back to Toastmasters, and then you went back to your illness. So it might help if you focus on one thing. So just talk about your illness, take us through that journey so you have more time to develop the impact of that. And with that, thank you.